The Second Solonian Age began during the war with Termane when Icarus Corvus switched the capital of the Yesudo from Culi to Ipsigo. The first 200 years of the age is known as the Ipsigo Solon, the golden age of the Yesudo. The Ipsigo Solon held 3 dynasties and several usurpers. These will now all be covered, so without further ado, this is part 1 of the series over the Second Solonian Age. The first dynasty of the SSA was the Corvus dynasty. Their dynasty is known as the Precedental dynasty, and they ruled for 67 years with 5 emperors. The first emperor, of course, was Icarus Corvus. For his rise, watch the War with Termane video, which has already been released. Now let's cover his rule. He was known as the Immortal Leader due to his personal presentation of himself as a divine ruler. That image, by the way, of the divine emperor would last for nearly 500 years, ending with the reign of Marcus Thrax. Icarus was the man to change the capital, and he was the man to conquer all of Old Cassia. The Jade Isles, it should be noted, remained as client states instead of outright provinces. His reign lasted 26 years. Icarus' son, Pollux, would succeed him. He was said to be insane and a physical lover of horses. It is typically agreed that his reign was held together by his eunuch advisors. His reign lasted 10 years. Pollux' middle child, Lucius, would succeed him. Lucius was known as the sickly man due to his frail state throughout his life. He survived many assassination attempts throughout his reign. Unfortunately, he lowered the purity of coins, which would have negative effects for the Yesudo going forward. After 15 years of rule, he died of an unknown illness. His older and younger brothers would succeed him, serving as co-emperors. Gaius Corvus, known as Gaius the Elder, was his older brother. He reigned briefly, only 4 years, and was assassinated, probably on his younger brother's orders. The younger brother was Mark Corvus. Mark was a calm and calculating man, but he was unpopular with the people due to the death of Gaius. He tried to disband the Senate as well, so several senators got together and killed him. His reign was 16 years, and his death was the death of the Corvus dynasty. The second dynasty of the SSA was the Sumerus dynasty. Their dynasty is known as the Mighty Dynasty, and they ruled for 81 years with 6 emperors. The first emperor of this dynasty was Claudius Sumerus, known as the Righteous Usurper. He was formerly the head of what remained of the Yesudo's Senate. He was not a part of the Mark assassination. He was friendly, but incredibly old, and his mind began to leave him as he reigned. He died of natural causes and was the emperor for 7 total years. His younger brother, Felix, succeeded him. Felix was known as the Excrement Emperor due to his tax on urine, which many used for sanitary reasons. He established this tax because the first recession of the Yesudo happened during his reign. After 10 years of rule, he died. His son, Janus, succeeded him. Janus depolluted the currency, which ended the recession. His reign was impressive and lasted 27 years. Janus' son, Consus, would succeed him. Consus was known as the Builder due to the many building jobs ordered throughout his reign. Walls, reservoirs, temples, and military bases were made abundant during his rule. He reigned for 17 years. His son Gaius succeeded him. He is remembered as Gaius the Younger. The Younger was weak-willed and would listen to his advisors. One matter he did not listen to, however, was their plans with eunuchs. His advisors planned to turn their children into eunuchs for the palace, which would gain them prestige. However, Gaius made eunuchs illegal. Advisors assassinated him after 9 years of rule. His drunkard son, Vitus, succeeded him. Both known as Vitus I and as the Failure Emperor, he reinstated eunuchs and ruled ineffectively, putting the realm into discontent. He was assassinated by his imperial guard after 11 years of rule, ending the Sumerus dynasty. The third dynasty of the SSA, and the final of this video, was the Angelos dynasty. Their dynasty is known as the Confused dynasty, and they ruled for 52 years, with 3 rightful emperors and 4 usurpers. Their first emperor, Publius Angelos, was the head of the imperial guard and the leader in Vitus' assassination. He was known as the Draconic Usurper as he compiled all Solonian laws into one book and ordered harsh punishments to be favored over light punishments for lawbreakers. Additionally, he increased the strength of the military, which would lead to him being the man to turn the Jade Isles into a fully fledged province. His reign lasted 20 years. His grandson Marius succeeded him. He was known as the Defensive Emperor, as there were 4 attempted usurpers who rose to power during his reign. As such, he fought civil wars throughout most of his 17-year reign. The first usurper was Rhea Elias. She was known as the Almost Queen. She controlled much of what is now the coast of Westheim, but her personal Yesudo was never large enough to be a real threat. She was imprisoned after 2 years of rule. The next usurper was Xander Floros, the cruel usurper. His Yesudo never settled as they were largely nomadic. He was harsh to allies and enemies, which led to his death at the hands of his own soldiers. He reigned for 5 years. Aulus Bureau succeeded Xander, being the one to kill the cruel man himself. However, Xander in turn inflicted a mortal wound against Aulus, and Aulus would die after 6 months of rule. The forces of his Yesudo then fizzled out, as Aulus had no clear successor, Publius Angelos. He was the son of Publius Angelos and uncle of Marius, but was overlooked due to his slick nose. Divine figures were not allowed physical deformities, and for his overlook, he is known as the Near King. He controlled much of what is now Krayev and ruled in Kuli. He killed himself after his grandnephew Septimius arrived outside the walls of Kuli. The final emperor of the Angelos dynasty was indeed Septimius Angelos. He succeeded Marius and put an end to the civil wars of the Yesudo. He fought against the steppe nomads of northern Krayev as their territory was claimed by the Yesudo, but in actuality it was not at all enforced under Yesudo law. He would die in a battle against the nomadic force after 15 years of reign. He had no clear successor, which led to a long period of instability. I will cover that period, the Ishibili, and the period after, the Ukua Okula, in the next video. For now, that is all. Goodbye.